I'm your host, Joel Perez, and you're watching Wrestling with Politics. And today we're going to be discussing the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and his most recent betrayal of the MAGA movement. And this one is especially heinous. This one especially pisses me off because in this most recent Truth Social post, Donald Trump decided to go after Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massie, three people who used to be loyal supporters of Donald Trump, who helped ardently to get Donald Trump elected. Three people who used to, and I would argue still do, stand for what Donald Trump claims to believe in. Number one, America first, and number two, making America great again. These are three people who symbolize what it means to be MAGA. But for some reason, Donald Trump no longer likes these people. For some reason, now he's calling these people losers. So this is a far cry from just 2 years ago in 2024, before Donald Trump became president, where he seemed to love these people. These people, he said about Thomas Massie that Thomas Massie was a grave defender of the Constitution, that he was a great conservative. He endorsed Thomas Massie previously in 2022. He endorsed Marjorie Taylor Greene previously in 2024. And of course, Donald Trump has had a wonderful relationship in the past with Tucker Carlson. Again, another person who helped to get Donald Trump elected. But now, all of a sudden, that these people are criticizing Donald Trump and calling Donald Trump out for the truth, for betraying a lot of the things that he promised on the campaign trail, for instead putting Israel first instead of America first, for instead, most recently, with what's going on with the ground beef, putting Argentina first, putting every foreign country first, and putting foreign workers before American workers, and putting in every instance America last. But before we get into all the examples of how Donald Trump has absolutely betrayed his own voters and betrayed his movement, let's not go any further here. Let's read this Truth Social post because this is something that everybody needs to hear. It's especially heinous what Donald Trump says here, and it reveals a lot. All right, let's read this tweet here, and I'm gonna try to do this in a Trump voice, so don't clown me, but let's read it here. He said, Tucker Carlson just met with lightweight former Congressman Thomas Massie and Marjorie Trader Greene. Losers all. Tucker's views have fallen through the floor and will only get worse. Nobody cares about him any longer, in that he has become totally irrelevant and happens to be, surprisingly, a very low IQ individual. He could barely get out of college, and maybe he did it, but only really dumb people can't make it through that wonderful 4-year time in life. Tucker wants to run for political office, but he should be required to take a cognitive test. He's got no chance, but could probably take a couple of points away from whatever the Republican ticket happens to be. Tucker is a loser and always has been. Marjorie Taylor Brown, Green turns to brown under stress, a highly neurotic young woman, went from ultra-conservative to a liberal fool all in a matter of weeks because I refused to return her phone calls, not because I didn't like her, just because I had no time. She was way down in the polls in Georgia because I took away my endorsement and would have had no chance of winning. So just like everyone else, she quit. Thomas Massie has turned out to be a failed politician and a real jerk. He thought that it was really wonderful to vote no on everything, no matter how good, strong, or proper the legislation would be. What a team this would be. Three losers and a pocket full of change. The only chance they have is to join the radical left Democrats and try breaking into the primary system. To all of them I say, praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. And please excuse my Trump impression. I know it's not the best, but let's talk about this tweet here for a second because it reveals a lot. So first of all, his comments on Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and Tucker Carlson, calling them losers, calling them low IQ individuals, saying that Tucker Carlson needs to take a cognitive test. But so these stupid people, they're so stupid, but they weren't so stupid when they were supporting your agenda, Donald Trump. They didn't need to take a cognitive test then. Why was that? So they're not dumb when they support you, but now that they don't support you anymore because you betrayed your entire principles and your entire base, now they're stupid. Now they're low IQ individuals, but they weren't that before. Before they were very smart. So what happened? What's the complete 180 here? And I'll tell you what the complete 180 is. It's the fact that now that these people are no longer politically useful to Donald Trump, now he doesn't give a damn about them anymore. Now that they've turned against him, because everybody should be turning against him at this point, because he's the one. It's not them. They're not the traitors. You're the traitor, Donald Trump. You're the one who betrayed your base. You're the one who betrayed your own supporters and threw them under the bus. And that's what you're doing right now. Because even more heinous than what he said about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and Tucker Carlson, we can put that to the side for a sec. But did you read the part in this post where he calls non-college educated voters, people who couldn't finish college, dumb people? It's completely as disrespectful as it gets to the people who voted for Donald Trump, because 6 in 10 Donald Trump supporters were non-college educated. But he's saying in this post that if you didn't finish college, you're a very dumb person for not being able to get through that wonderful 4-year time in life. So you're stupid. And why does Donald Trump feel comfortable calling you dumb? Why does he feel comfortable calling his own supporters stupid for not finishing college? Because he doesn't need your vote anymore. Donald Trump doesn't need anybody's vote. He doesn't need anybody to vote for him anymore. So now he feels comfortable saying whatever he wants, and more importantly, what he actually feels. He actually feels that you're stupid, you're beneath him, and he's smarter than you. So that's just completely repulsive. It's absolutely as elitist as it gets. And Donald Trump, you're not better than anybody. You're not smarter than anybody. You're the traitor. You're the one who turned your back on all of your supporters by, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, putting Israel first instead of America first. He's the one who promised to be a peacetime president, but now has gotten us into the Iran war and is wasting hundreds of billions of your taxpayer dollars on a foreign war for a foreign country. Donald Trump is the one who's betrayed MAGA, and that's why Tucker Carlson can no longer stand for this, because instead of following him like the blind sheep that Donald Trump wants, he wants blind support. He wants you to follow him no matter what, and that's not what Tucker Carlson, MTG, and Thomas Massie are willing to do. Unlike the Democrats who would blindly follow Joe Biden no matter what and give him no pushback, these Trump supporters are actually turning against him when he doesn't do what the hell he's supposed to do. And that's principled. So I respect the Trump supporters for doing that. I respect Thomas Massie, Tucker Carlson, and Marjorie Taylor Greene for doing that, because that's what you're supposed to do. When politicians don't give you the demands that they promise, you're supposed to hold their feet to the fire and hold them accountable for betraying their promises. That's our roles as the voters. That's the only way that we can make this work. If not, these politicians like Donald Trump will feel comfortable walking all over us, and they shouldn't feel comfortable doing that. They should feel threatened by us when they don't give the American people what they want. And that's why Tucker Carlson is trying to do what he's doing. Donald Trump mentioned it in this post that Tucker's trying to start his own political movement and start a new political party, a third party. And guess what? That's exactly what we need. We need more options rather than these Democrats and these Republicans who at the end of the day pretend to be two different sides but serve the same interests. They bow down to the same masters, to the same corporations, to the same foreign lobbies, and to the same billionaires and oligarchy that controls it all. The Republicans and the Democrats, at the end of the day, they're truly working together, and there are no real options on the ballot. That's that's what the big problem was with the 2024 election. Whether you voted for Kamala Harris, whether you voted for Donald Trump, you were still going to end up in the same place with the president who puts Israel first no matter what, who supports getting us into these foreign wars, and who supports raising the national debt, which is now at $40 trillion, in support of funneling all our wealth to the richest people in this society. It's just whichever flavor of shit that you choose to believe, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, but at the end of the day, you end up in the same exact place. Whether or not Harris or Trump won, you are still going to end up with this Iran war. There is not that big of a fundamental difference, and that's some of the things that Tucker Carlson is pointing out. At the end of the day, Donald Trump and Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate, they still support the same tax code. They still support the same Israel lobby. They still support all of these foreign wars. So at the end of the day, where do we end up? With a uniparty. And that's exactly what we need to break up. And that's what Tucker Carlson is trying to do. So hopefully it's not just smoke in the air. Hopefully Tucker Carlson does start a third party. And hopefully they do stand a chance. Because we need desperately some different options. And if Tucker Carlson is speaking facts about what he purports to believe in, he would start a party that actually believes in America First principles. And that's an important principle to start with, because right now, as I've mentioned, we have politicians that are putting America dead last, that are putting every other country's interest in front of our own. And that's a huge problem. So just having a party that would put America first, that being a defining principle right there, a party that actually puts America first, not the bullshit that Donald Trump is purporting to believe in, that right there is one of the most important things, because right now we have two parties that have completely abandoned serving the American people. There's been no legitimate threat to these two parties, and that's why Donald Trump is coming out as fiercely as he is against Tucker Carlson. Not because he genuinely hates these people, he must be insulted by the fact that they're betraying him, but because they are posing a political threat. He knows that Tucker Carlson isn't a low IQ individual. He's not just a loser like he says he is. He actually poses a political threat to the Republican Party. There would be millions of Americans, I'm willing to assume, that would come out and support Tucker Carlson and his initiative to start a third party. Because guess what? People are sick and tired of the Democratic and Republican parties. They're sick and tired of going back and forth between two flavors of shit. The American people are ready for something new. I know I'm ready for something new, and that's what Tucker Carlson is offering with a third party that he's about to start with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. So hopefully they get to that, because that's exactly what we need right now. Perhaps it wouldn't do the best in the first couple of elections. Maybe it takes some time to build up these third party movements, but guess what? It's a fight worth investing in, because we've been on the left trying to start a third party with the Green Party and all these other types of things, and it's gone to shit. So maybe it's going to be the right wing and Tucker Carlson and MTG and Thomas Massie who are actually going to break through and start this thing. And as long as the third party doesn't take any corporate money, hopefully that's a principle that they take down as well. I mean, that's what makes it so difficult, because without corporate money, it makes it harder to get these things done. But guess what? Just because it's hard, as we've discussed before on the channel, doesn't mean that it's not worth doing. The fight for change, the fight to make this country better, the fight to take this country back from the billionaires that have taken it over, it's always going to be a fight worth fighting. And I don't care what Donald Trump says on his Little Truth Social. At the end of the day, this duopoly, this uniparty that has taken over our country, it will be toppled. Because Donald Trump, you could have been the one to topple it, but instead you deserve to betray your voters, to betray MAGA, to betray America First, and become part of the very vultures who have destroyed this country. You decided to join the big club, and like George Carlin said, it's one big club, and you ain't in it. Donald Trump, he's part of that big club. Well, guess what? We're here to tear that big club down, and hopefully Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massie are genuinely part of that fight to tear it down. I'm trying to come at this from whichever side. If there's a third party on the right, if there's a third party on the left, whichever way we can dismantle this duopoly and actually bring some damn change to this country, I'm always going to be in support of that. And Donald Trump, I feel like he knows what threat a third party from Tucker Carlson and his millions, the number one news guy in America, Donald Trump knows the type of threat that this poses to his little Republican Party. He said it in the post. They might take a couple points away. Well, that couple points, it could be enough to cost him the midterms. And after saying the things that Donald Trump has said, calling non-college educated supporters dumb, Donald Trump, just for that statement alone, you deserve to lose the midterms, Donald Trump. Screw you. But for now, that's all I have to say here. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below about Donald Trump's loaded, huge statement here on Truth Social. Donald Trump, according to me at least, I believe that this is official. Donald Trump has betrayed MAGA. And MAGA, I don't think MAGA is a thing anymore. I think Donald Trump has completely destroyed MAGA, and we're ready, at least Tucker, MTG, and Thomas Massie, and I'm ready to jump on ship with them. We're moving past MAGA. We're moving on to something else, and hopefully something better. That's all I have to say now. For now, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot more wrestling with politics coming your way. I'll see you all very, very soon.